Before we begin, if you enjoy creepy stories, mysterious encounters, and terrifying late-night tales, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Tonight's story is about a lonely highway, a mysterious passenger, and a ride that should have never happened. Now, let's begin. Michael had always enjoyed driving at night. There was something peaceful about having the road almost entirely to yourself. No traffic, no crowded streets, no constant noise, just the sound of the engine and the endless road ahead. On this particular night, however, that peace felt different. The highway stretched endlessly through a remote area surrounded by dense forest. Rain fell steadily from the dark sky. The windshield wipers moved back and forth in a slow rhythm. The radio occasionally crackled with static. Everything felt normal, at least at first. Michael had been driving for nearly 6 hours after visiting a friend in another state. He was tired. His eyes felt heavy, but he still had several hours left before reaching home. The road ahead was completely empty. No cars, no trucks, no signs of life, only darkness. As midnight approached, an uneasy feeling began settling into his stomach. He couldn't explain it. Nothing was wrong, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him. Every few minutes he checked his mirrors. Every few minutes he glanced into the darkness beyond the headlights. Nothing, just trees, rain, and endless highway. Then he saw someone, a figure standing beside the road. At first he thought it was a sign, but as he got closer, he realized it was a person. A woman, standing completely still. She wasn't waving. She wasn't calling for help. She wasn't moving at all. She simply stood there watching the approaching headlights. Michael slowed down. A voice inside his head told him to keep driving. Every horror movie he'd ever watched flashed through his mind. Yet another part of him felt guilty. What if she genuinely needed help? What if her car had broken down? What if she had been stranded for hours? The rain continued pouring. The woman remained motionless. Finally, Michael pulled over. For several seconds she didn't move. Then she slowly began walking toward the vehicle. Something about the way she moved felt strange, almost unnatural. Not enough to alarm him, just enough to make him uncomfortable. She opened the passenger door and climbed inside. Water dripped from her clothes. Her face was pale. Her dark hair hung over part of her face. She looked exhausted. "Thank you," she said quietly. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. Michael nodded. "No problem." The woman fastened her seatbelt, then stared out the window. The silence that followed felt strangely heavy. Michael attempted to start a conversation. "Where are you headed?" The woman continued looking outside. "Just keep driving." Michael waited for more. Nothing came. The road stretched endlessly ahead. Rain tapped against the glass. The woman never moved, never looked around, never checked her phone, never spoke again. For nearly 30 minutes she remained completely silent. Michael began feeling increasingly uncomfortable. Every now and then he glanced toward her. Each time she was staring into the darkness outside, as if she were searching for something, or someone. Eventually Michael noticed something unusual. The temperature inside the vehicle had dropped significantly. His hands felt cold. His breath was becoming visible. Yet the heater was still running. He turned the temperature higher. Nothing changed. The woman slowly turned her head. For the first time since entering the vehicle, she looked directly at him. Her eyes seemed distant, almost sad. Then she quietly asked, "Do you ever feel like you're being followed?" Michael forced a nervous laugh. "Not really." The woman looked back out the window. "I do." A chill ran down his spine. Before he could respond, a pair of headlights appeared behind them. Far away. Michael barely paid attention. Cars appeared all the time. Nothing unusual about that. Yet after 20 minutes, the headlights remained there. The exact same distance behind them. Never getting closer. Never falling back. Just following. Watching. Waiting. Michael adjusted his mirror. The light seemed unusually bright. He frowned. Something about them felt wrong. The woman noticed. Her entire body suddenly became tense. Her eyes locked onto the mirror. A frightened expression spread across her face. "It's here." Michael looked at her. "What?" She swallowed hard. "It's here." The headlights suddenly became brighter. Far brighter. The inside of the car filled with white light. Michael gripped the steering wheel tighter. His heartbeat increased. The vehicle behind them accelerated. Fast. Very fast. The distance between them began shrinking. The woman looked terrified. More terrified than any person Michael had ever seen. "What is that?" he asked. The woman stared at the approaching lights. Then she whispered, "The same car that killed me." Michael felt his blood turn cold. "What are you talking about?" The woman slowly looked at him. Tears filled her eyes. "Years ago," she explained, she had accepted a ride from a stranger on this exact highway. She had trusted him. She had gotten into his car, and she had never made it home. Nobody ever found her. Nobody ever discovered what happened. The only thing she remembered was the headlights. Those same headlights. Following. Watching. Hunting. The vehicle behind them accelerated again. The entire rear window filled with blinding white light. Michael pressed harder on the accelerator. 80 miles per hour. 90. 100. Still the lights grew closer. The road disappeared into thick fog. Visibility dropped dramatically. Trees became dark shadows beyond the headlights. The woman suddenly became calm. Almost peaceful. She looked at Michael and smiled sadly. "If I stay, it takes you too." Before he could react, she reached for the passenger door. Michael shouted. The door swung open. Cold wind rushed into the vehicle. And then she jumped. She disappeared into the darkness. Instantly the headlights behind them vanished. Completely. The road became silent. The fog began clearing. The rain stopped. Everything felt normal again. Michael slammed on the brakes. His heart pounded violently. He sat there breathing heavily, trying to understand what had just happened. Slowly he turned toward the passenger seat. It was empty. Dry. There wasn't a single drop of water anywhere. As if nobody had ever been there. As if the woman had never existed. Years passed. Michael eventually convinced himself it had all been exhaustion. Stress. A hallucination. Something his tired mind had created. Until one night, while driving the same highway, he saw someone standing beside the road. A lone figure. Motionless. Waiting. And as his headlights illuminated the figure, he recognized her face. The same woman. Standing exactly where he had first found her. Still waiting for a ride. Still trapped on that lonely highway. And from that day forward, Michael never stopped for anyone again.